Hello, it's 12 hours GMT. This is the Midday News. This bulletin is live on Joy99.7 FM in Accra. We are live in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. On Facebook Live, we're streaming and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Laura FM in Laura, A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, Sky FM in Sunyane, and Victory FM in Aplao. Also go digital on Spotify and the MindJoy online app. Coming up this afternoon, we ask, is it a case of inadequate training or just trigger-happy police personnel as a court in Cape Coast slaps the Ghana Police Service with a 320,000 cedi fine after its officers accidentally shot 3 persons.
Justice Kwesi Boakye in his judgment noted that there was a dire need to undertake complete overhaul or re-engineer the service as far as its professional training needs and competence are concerned.
Meanwhile, the Northern Regional Minister calls on the service to re-examine its training of personnel after a 14-year-old boy was shot in Lamishegu accidentally. We'll get the reaction of the police and speak to a security analyst. Also this afternoon, Asen North MP James Jachikwason pleads not guilty to the charge of forgery and perjury as he makes his first court appearance in the criminal case filed against him.
If you're a member of parliament and you've gone contrary to the laws of Ghana, the law must deal with you. So the argument that is a member of parliament and that for that matter we are just pursuing some members on the other side is neither here nor there.
We have details as the court has granted him a sum of 100,000 cedi bail. Also this afternoon, impending crunch meeting for Ghanaians as experts predict fuel prices will go up again by 30 pesos tomorrow in what will be the least what will be at least a 70 peso addition to the fuel price build-up in just 2022.
The increment they are expecting to happen in this window would bring in total an increment of about 70 pesos on the price build-up per litre in just 2022.
Details as importers hint of increment in prices of the general goods on the market due to poor performance of the Ghana cedi against the dollar.
And so if you had pegged it at 6.3, 6.2, then you, the importer, is going to make losses, not get losses. You are going to be out of businesses if care is not taken.
Also here on the Midday News, Catholic Bishops' Conference throws its weight behind the controversial electronic transaction levy, but urges the Finance Ministry to slash the proposed rate of 1.75 to 1%.
We support the e-levy, but not the rate with which they want to start. If this e-levy will put Ghana in a position to raise its own money and develop the country with it, I think we should all support it.
And coming up in sports,
Ghana Boxing Promoters Association.
We have details of these and more in this half-hour package. Please stay with us. As my name is Ernest Menu, to the details now. Over the shooting of 3 persons in a taxi cab. The officers who were pursuing goat thieves from Chifopras and killed Mary Abuaje injured her husband Abuaje.
At about 6:30 a.m., they were on board a taxi cab from Anchorford Junction in Cape Coast when they were shot at by personnel of the Ghana Police Service who said they were chasing robbers from Chifopraso. The bullets of the police strayed and hit Mary Abuaje, who later died. The defendants, the Ghana Police Service, told the court it deployed 5 policemen from the various police stations in the central region for police patrol duty at Daman near Chifopraso. Whilst on their patrol duty, they had information that there was a BMW saloon car with 4 occupants suspected to be driving recklessly. A few minutes later, the said BMW car approached the patrol that the passenger on the front seat was holding an AK-47 rifle. Accordingly, they notified all the police barriers from Chifopraso to Cape Coast and proceeded to chase the said BMW car. On the outskirts of Jokwa Senior High School, the suspected robbers then began firing at the police patrol vehicle with AK-47 rifle, leaving the police no choice than to return fire. After the arrest of the suspect, a search conducted in their car revealed 6 live goats, 1 live sheep, and 5 dead goats. Justice Kwesi Boakye in his judgment indicated the judgment of the court was not meant to intimidate and lower the morale of the crime-fighting institutions in the country.
Richard Kojonyako filed that report. Let's go on to the line. He joins us with more on this. Richard, first of all, what was the reaction of the complainant after the judge awarded this cause?
Well, so it was mixed because considering the fact that this case has traveled from 2019 up to date, they felt happy that indeed justice has been served, but they were not happy with the fines that were slapped on the Ghana Police Service. They felt that the student among them who had to stay home for 2 semesters without even going to school as a result of the injuries she sustained could have even gotten more money than what she was given. And so it was mixed. But overall, they felt that, well, indeed, justice has indeed been served. But they are waiting for the compensation packages to come from the Ghana Police Service.
According to the plaintiffs, on the 10th of January 2019 at about 6:30 a.m., they were on board.
And we'll hear from the complainant in our subsequent bulletins. But Kojo is still with me on the line. Kojo, quickly tell us about the police. Were they in court and what was their reaction to this judgment?
So the police were not in court because this is a case of vicarious liability. The case of an employer, carrying the fence of the employee because the employee was carrying or going about their legally mandated duty by the employer. And so the cost had to be borne by the Ghana Police Service. And so nothing was said about the 5 police persons that engaged in that act.
And we can now hear from the complainants who have been speaking to Joy News.
Inti eso muhu se mo nipa na okoye na wo moframa e wachiri inti de eso mo ye na se omo anye na ye da ba court na court aka so mo difa sa na ipe no because nipa no wan na dwen se de oye ye no wonjintu inti court aka yin de ye da court ase wo de tie bia no so you court aka na ye jitum o nia esino.
Could you a quick translation of what they've been saying?
Well, so they said that initially the police did not want to accept culpability, that they were culpable for what has transpired. But whatever they will say, they've lost their relative, and so they are waiting for them to pay the compensation packages that have been slapped on them.
Thank you very much. That's our Central Region correspondent, Richard Kojonyaka. Well, speaking of police conduct, the Northern Regional Minister, Alhaji Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu, is asking the police to re-examine how its personnel are trained. It comes after a recent clash between the police and the youth left 1 person dead and 4 others injured in Lamishegu. The clash occurred when police attempted to arrest a man who had refused to stop and fired gunshots at him. Now, this is the 3rd time in the area the people are witnessing such violence. Let's listen to the minister.
And there has been a request also from the chiefs to be part of the investigations that will be formed, a team that will be formed to ascertain the causes of all these things. Because this is the 3rd time that this thing is happening. And thirdly, law and order must be made to work in the metropolis. There's so much indiscipline, and we think that some measures must be taken to forestall further occurrences. And fourthly, the police service training should be looked up.
That's the Northern Regional Minister Alhaji Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu. Meanwhile, Amnesty International has called for an independent probe into circumstances leading to the death of that person in Lamishegu. Let's hear from the country director of Amnesty International, Frank Doi. He spoke on the Joy News channel.
That is why Amnesty International has been advocating for an independent investigation body to handle cases affecting the police, so that we are all sure that the matter is dealt with and brought to its logical conclusion. It will be very unfortunate if justice is not done in this case. And for this reason, Amnesty International is going to follow the matter very closely, as we have done in other cases, and we will ensure that justice is seen to be done. Someone has been killed, and those who committed this act have been identified. And so what we will call for is that they should be dealt with according to the law. We are worried that those who have the responsibility to protect our lives are the very ones who are killing innocent people.
That's Frank Doi. He's the country director of Amnesty International. He spoke earlier on the Joy News channel. Let's go on to the phone lines now and speak to a security analyst. Dr. Ishmael Norman joins us. He's also the CEO of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. Doc, thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. What is your reading of the cases we are reporting? Is it a certain reflection of a deficit in the training of police officers, or simply happy trigger happy personnel?
Both. Policing is a very difficult job to do, particularly in an escalating situation, which this appears to have been I'm not privy to the circumstances leading to the shooting, but I think training the police about when to fire a gun, when to pull the gun and point it at someone, automatically when you pull a gun from its holster, it becomes very easy to press on a trigger. So that interim, very short period of critical decision making is a very critical thing that the police have to get used to. Recently, study in the U.S. police, about 18% of them said they need additional training on how to control the trigger. So it's an issue not just in Ghana, but also everywhere.
What do you make of the cause that was awarded by the court with regards to the Cape Coast incident, for instance?
Well, I think the court sees that harm has been caused and that the people need to be recompensed. I like that because it's one of the few occasions where the court is actually finding the police guilty, however, or culpable. However, the amount of money they have awarded, the court has awarded, is very low. When you look at the adjusted useful life of an individual who is about, say, 25 or 18 or whatever, till they reach retirement age, the amount of money they have given for 3 people is absolutely minuscule. It's too small. So it's about time that our court system, our judges and our lawyers begin to think that black lives actually do matter. Because when you award so small amount of money, they don't see the weight, and the police organization doesn't see why it is necessary for them to improve the quality of the people they recruit in the first place.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Ishmael Norman. He is CEO of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. I'll be following up on this story. But let's stay in the court because the Asin North MP, James Jachikwason, has pleaded not guilty to the charges of forgery and deceit of a public officer. Now, it will be recalled that the High Court in July 2021 announced the Asin North parliamentary elections, saying that Mr. Kwason was not eligible to contest the polls. Mr. Kwason has since been legally fighting to set this aside, with the matter currently pending at the Court of Appeal. The Attorney General's office in this year's filed, in their bid to look at this case, filed a criminal charge against the legislator. But Mr. Kwason, who showed up in court today, has denied all the charges. Let's go to the phone lines now and speak to court correspondent Joseph Akable. Joseph, first, we understand the MP's legal team had attempted to halt the hearing of the case. Tell us about that. Hello, Joseph. Well, we seem not to have the attention of court correspondent Joseph Akable, but we can hear from the Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuan-Yeboah, who has...
You realize that they're giving self-recovery science bail. But in this instance, the court said 100,000 with justification. They're satisfied with the conditions.
But in terms of the politics surrounding this case, I mean, there are issues being raised that the office is unfairly going after members of parliament who have really not committed any crime. In this instance, they say that there are various aspects of the case that are pending at the civil courts.
That argument is not to prosecute the one burdened on crime. So far we are concerned, we've conducted our investigations. It matters not who is involved. If you're a member of parliament and you've gone contrary to the laws of Ghana, the law must deal with you. If you are a minister of state, a deputy minister, if you are any other person and you go contrary to the laws are there to deal with you.
You had the Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuan-Yeboah. He spoke to my colleague Joseph Akable, who joins us on the line now. Joseph,
was to the effect that the facts of the case raises some issues of interpretation. They claim that, so they had wanted the court to refer to the Supreme Court. But the Deputy AG disagreed. He said it's a criminal matter and the facts are very straightforward, and the business of the day is to have the MP respond to those charges. And the court agreed and dismissed the application that was done by Chachi Chikata, who is lawyer for the MP, and then proceeded to call upon the MP to plead to the charges. And so he entered a not guilty plea on all the charges against him.
Now, tell us about his bail conditions.
He's been granted 100,000 cedi bail with a surety at one to be justified. And the point that the Deputy AG made was that for most of the MPs who are being prosecuted, they tend to be granted self-recognizance bail. But his argument was because the MP has been evading service, in his opinion, this is a matter that some conditions should be attached. So the court has fixed those conditions.
Joseph, you've been speaking to the minority leader, Harun Idrisu. What has he been telling you?
He says he does not understand why they could simply not attempt to serve the MP through the speaker and rather turn around to allege that the MP was evading the court process.
You heard the justices of the Supreme Court themselves at the last hearing state emphatically and strongly that the manner of service was unconstitutional. Let me put it out quite clearly that at no point in time has it ever been the intention of the Honorable Jackie Grayson or the minority not to be accountable to the law. What we have sought to question is the process and procedures allowing us to be accountable to the law and to respect the fidelity of the law. The same Honorable Jackie Grayson was arranged before a CID investigation panel. So ask yourself, how did that happen? They came through properly, through the speaker, and he facilitated that. So if you wanted to serve him, the easy thing to do is to come through the same route of the speaker and accord with the constitution on.
Harun Idrisu is minority leader. Away from the courts this afternoon, there's an impending economic crunch for Ghanaians as experts predict fuel prices will go up by some 30 pesos in the next pricing window, which begins tomorrow. Cumulatively, this will mean a 70 peso increment in the price of the product in just 2022. Last year, transport operators embarked on a day strike to protest the increment in fuel prices, forcing government to direct GOIL to reduce its prices by 30 pesos. In just 3 months, the prices are back on the ascendancy, reviving considerations of possible increment in transport fares. Here's research analyst with the Institute of Energy Securities.
We see fuel prices rising further in this pricing window. So of course, going into the next window, we expect to see an increment. Now, the increment that we are expecting to happen in this window would bring in total an increment of about 70 pesos on the price border per litre in just 2022. Where we started around 6.70 pesos per litre for petrol and diesel on average terms, now reaching around 7 cedis, 40 pesos and above. We also saw a reintroduction of the price stabilization and recovery levy in the price board beginning the 1st of February. That's the first pricing window of February. And so at that point in time, prices added about 40 pesos to the price board. And so since the end or the beginning of 2021, we've seen an addition of 70 pesos on the price board.
And that's Fritz Moses, a research analyst with the Institute of Energy Securities. Meanwhile, pressure is mounting on government to cushion consumers with a windfall generated from the sale of crude on the international market. Let's listen to the Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amoah, who says the extra revenue should be deployed properly.
Per the prevailing circumstances where world market prices continue to surge and the cedi continues to come under immense pressure, following which prices at the pumps are simply increasing by the week, the only thing government needs to do now is to take a decision, a very bold decision on managing fuel prices, where managing fuel prices would definitely mean introducing a dual pricing policy which allows government to scale down on taxes or ease down on taxes as and when international market prices increase, or in the opposite circumstance also apply the windfalls that we as an oil producing country is deriving from these price increases on the world market to the BDCs in order that they do not even increase prices for the OMCs to pass it on at the pumps.
Duncan Amoah is the Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Meanwhile, with the Ghana cedi still struggling to firmly stabilize against the US dollar, local importers are hinting of increasing the prices of goods to be able to stay in business. But how is the cedi really faring? George Yafe of our business desk joins us in the studio. George, tell us more about the performance of the cedi.
Well, the cedi has indeed been struggling against its major partners when you look at the US dollar, the British pound, and the euro. About 3 weeks ago, you could be looking at getting a dollar for around 6 Ghana cedis, maybe 40 pesos or something. This is just the average quotes that the commercial banks or the major commercial banks are giving.
Okay.
Means that you could end up getting a higher quote than that. Now you're looking at somewhere around 6 Ghana cedis, 70 pesos, and that is still based on the average quotes that these commercial banks are giving. If it comes to the British pound, you're looking at a situation about 9 cedis, 6 pesos, as in what the rate that the banks are prepared to sell a dollar to you or something. If you come to the euro, you're looking at 7 Ghana cedis, 58 pesos. And the current challenge is purely a demand and supply issue. What is happening right now is that we've seen more businesses demanding dollars to finance their imports, and also some offshore investors that are holding our euro bonds due to some fiscal concerns are selling these Ghana bonds. Now, don't forget that when they bought these bonds, they gave dollars to their local commercial banks to buy it on their behalf.
That is so.
And therefore, if they are exiting, they demand these dollars, and that is bringing some pressure on the limited amount of dollars that we have in the country. If you look at the Bank of Ghana reserves ending December, we're looking at somewhere around $9.6 billion.
George, thank you very much for that update. Let's now hear from the importers and exporters themselves. Let's go to the phone lines now. We're joined by Samson Asaki Awingobit, who is the Executive Secretary of the Association. Thank you, sir, for your time here on the Midday News. Explain to us exactly how this is affecting your operations.
Well, thank you very much. I strongly believe that I'm sure if you listen to Rafe for when he gives down the rundown about what's happening in the interbank sector, and it's quite strongly, it's a worrisome situation to the business community. We began the year in 2021 at what rate of the dollar and to $1 to the cedi. As we speak, in the same period, February 15th, let's compare it and contrast. You realize that our city kept on depreciating. And so if one were selling at the beginning of this month or at the beginning of January and thinking that by the end or by the end of February he or she will go to the market and get some dollars to go and bring commodity cargo to this country, and he or she had pegged the cost of his goods prices, let's say at 60 to 20 pesos, and that person will be at the tomb, because as we speak, in the interbank there, it is 6.2, 6.3, but you put in your fiscal cards there to your commercial bank looking for foreign to go and bring goods, then you end up staying there for weeks just for you to be told that go to the Alaji. You go to Alaji is now selling to you at 6.7, and that tells you that 60 to 70 pesos. That tells you that you haven't done a good projection. And so for us, so far as the city continues to wrinkle, the city continues to depreciate, it will have a worrisome situation in terms of prices of goods, because if you don't peg your price at the good price, let's say now that it's even at 6.7, means if you are going to do projection now, you put your prices at somewhere 7 cities, so that by the time you finish, either it's still within hovering around the 6.7 or 6.8.
Thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. I will be doing more on this in our subsequent bulletins, but let's stay on the standard of living. It's now time for our Living Standard series, and biting economic conditions have forced 34-year-old machine operator Isaac Obeng to think of other avenues of keeping body and soul together, as his 800 Ghana cedi salary is not enough to cater for himself, his wife, and 2 children. Now he falls in the bracket of many others finding any means possible to survive. Here's a report by Mamisi Thompson.
You have to do some papa alongside your work. If you are not able to do that papa, you will get caught on the way. As a matter of fact, I don't pay rent because I live in my own house. Yeah, so I spend on food, transportation, and then housekeep. So every day, the housekeeping money, I give 50 cedis to my wife for housekeep, 50 cedis. Then I take 2 trotro to work. When going back to, I take two trotro back home. And transportation is taking my salary.
Isaka says his favorite new word is management. He finds himself using the word very often because of economic hardship. The high cost of food prices means he has to squeeze on his budget. According to him, the economy has hit him so hard that he has had to cut down on his food.
I don't actually eat in the morning. I fast, and then in the afternoon I can spend 9 cedis on good food.
Mamiesi Thompson's report for the Joy Living Standard series is also live on TV and all other platforms here on Joy. You're listening to the Midday News with me, Ernest Minu. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you sports and hear from the Catholic Bishops' Conference on the controversial e-levy.
Justice Kwesi Boakye in his judgment noted.
So the projections from the first quarter show a higher total gross profit for the fiscal year.
Nana, who's not land you? He did the port right here.
Here are your items. Thank you for coming.
Yes, 2 for 10 cedi. Me no 10 cedi. 2 for 10 cedi.
And for whole business away, the beer you has to be wow. MTN Business made to enable your business stay ahead of the pack. mtnbusiness.gh@mtn.com. Fre Anna was happy. 0244 308 111. MTN everywhere you go.
No matter how your day is going, isn't it comforting to know that there's a place where you can relax and kick off your stress? The Cosmopolitan Mix on Joy FM with Doreen Nando has it all. Education, inspiration, entertainment, celebrity interviews. What's up, man? I'm good.
You're live here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Time now for sports, and Muftal joins me with the very latest. Hello, Muftal.
The Ghana Boxing Promoters Association has accused the boxing governing body, that is the Ghana Boxing Authority, of machinations to monopolize the promotions of the sport in the country. According to the president of the association, Alex Ntiamwa, the governing body of the sport has increased the license fees by 300%.
There are rumors that the fees have been increased over 300%. We are just coming from COVID. It's very hard even to get by with sponsors, and we are coming out from COVID. What informed the decision of the increment?
Intentional.
It was intentional because the GBA want to get the promoters out of the business so that they can connive with IMAS to monopolize the promotional space.
That is Alex Ntiamwa, president of the Ghana Boxing Promoters Association.
Thank you very much, Muftal, for the latest in sports. Now, the Catholic Bishop Conference has asked government to revise the charge rate of the proposed electronic transaction levy. President of the conference, Most Reverend Philip Name, tells Joy News, although they support the e-levy, government would have to further slash the proposed rate of 1.75 to 1%.
We support the e-levy, but not the rate with which they want to start. As many people are still trying to get on the digital platform, I think if they started at a lower rate, 1% or at the maximum 1.5%, and then later on increase the rate, it will be more convenient for many people.
And that's the president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Philip Name. Now, if you use an Android phone or a tablet, that's good news for you. Did you know that you could listen to any multimedia group-owned radio station by just saying a simple command? It's the Google Assistant feature, which is just a tap or a click away. The Multimedia Group has added this to the many ways you could listen to any of our radio stations.
It's a new way to access multimedia now, and it's more convenient. All you have to do is just say, okay, Google, ask Multimedia Ghana to open or to play. Then you mention the multimedia radio station, and that's all you have to do. However, you just need to do a one-time setup on your phone, so that your voice assistant is activated.
So how do you enable this on your device? My colleague Manuel Cranton joins me in the studio with simple steps. Manuel, walk us through.
So the very first step, Ernest, is for you to open the Google app on your Android or your tablet, and then at the top right corner, tap your profile picture or initial settings, and then under Hey Google, tap Voice Match, and then you can turn on Hey Google, and just say, okay Google, tune in to Joy FM, and then you can listen to us anywhere you are in the world.
It's as simple as that. Thank you very much, Manuel. And that's how we end the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. You can find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Ernest Mino. Up next is Living Word with Dr. Mensa Otabel.